Okay, what's up? Will you let me know if you can hear me? Because I'm actually using my phone this time. Long story, but I don't have my computer at the moment. It's not working really well. So anyway, I'm gonna have that fixed before tomorrow's big live stream with Brett from Pop Culture Crisis. But let me know. Can you hear me, AJ? Can you hear me? All right, I'm gonna fix this light situation. I'll be back. Okay, AJ says howdy. Lisa says hey. I think I'm probably a little behind on the chat. So it'll be a little while before I know if you can hear me or not. It's like the other day when I talked and talked and talked, I think like 5 minutes, and didn't realize that I was muted. And so finally people had to start butting in, trying to get in the chat. Okay, thanks, AJ. Okay, so here's the deal for today. I know that Tug has a live stream coming up, and he's going to continue his analysis of Surviving Amber Heard. I'm really glad that I have not seen the live stream, or I've not seen the movie, the documentary Surviving Amber Heard, but I appreciate the people who brought it to my attention. Apparently I'm in it, and in a more flattering and proper fashion than I was in the Netflix documentary. Oh man, I still want to make a video about that because it's so funny. It's so funny how bad I sound in it. I sound like I have a cold. Like I sound real sad, and like I'm speaking really low. I guess I was speaking really low because I was on Legal Bites, and it was when the lawyers were on a break, right? They were not a break, but they were talking to the judge, and so we would talk, during those periods, but you don't want to talk very loud because it can kind of be distracting. Some people don't like the chatter. So anyway, so I'm speaking really softly, really low, and I sounded depressed. And I was talking about these texts. Oh, there's these texts that are going to look bad for Johnny. Something about kicking Amber, and then cut away from that, and then they cut back to it in a different part when one of the lawyers says to me, they're not going to let those texts in. And I say, okay. Anyway, but the reason I'm doing this, and it's going to be fast. I'm not going to pay, no offense, I'm not going to pay a ton of attention to the chat. I know I never paid as much attention as I should. I should do a video sometime where I just interact with the chat. I think I may do that sometime in the next few weeks. But I'm really going to be burning through things right now because Tug has his live stream in an hour, less than an hour. He's going to go over more of Surviving Amber Heard. And also, the reason I did this, I really didn't feel like having a live stream or wasn't planning to, but there's been so much news that has hit, and I feel like I've just got to run through as much of it as I can, and then I'll be able to make a number of little videos out of it, because I haven't put out very many videos since I've been on, I want to say vacation, but just traveling. And after the Colorado thing, went back and stayed with my mom for a while and helped her with some things and whatever. So I'm finally back into position where I normally am and can try to now devote attention to my YouTube channel. Okay, so there's been all kinds of stuff that's happening. A lot of people are talking about the Danny Masterson thing, and he did get 30 years in prison. Now, I don't know what that means in terms of actual years he's going to serve, but as maybe one of you can do the math, isn't it normally like they get out usually like in half the time, or they serve like a half to 2/3 of their time? I don't know. I don't really have legal knowledge of that, but that's just kind of my sense of how things normally go. But let's say that he just serves 20 years or even 15 years. I mean, that is a huge amount of time, and that's going to take him from being still a rather youngish man, in his 40s. What is he, 47? To then being in his 60s if he gets out really early. And if he doesn't, then he'll be old. He'll be an elderly guy, right? Now, I have said before, and I'm not going out on a limb here because I think most people share this opinion, and so in this way, I'm not contrarian. I've said before that I think he's probably guilty. I haven't looked into it a lot. And so you might say, well, shouldn't you not say that? But I'm only saying that as my initial opinion, not as, I'm not telling people to believe that he's guilty. But you might ask, well, why is that? I understand that his case, a lot of it rested on the testimony of the Jane Does. And so in that way, it's not different from some of the other cases that I've covered where I believe the men are innocent. But what was compelling to me, and I know a number of you, is the Scientology documentation of these events as they happened. I understand that the Scientology documentation, it's files and files, right? But I understand that the Scientology documentation, it doesn't have a confession from Masterson, a signed confession saying, yes, I did do these things. But it does show us that in real time, at the time that these things are alleged to have happened, or not too long after, that these women were complaining about it. And they weren't complaining about it to try to get, at least initially, to try to get fame or to get anything out of it. In fact, there was really no incentive for them other than if they were pissed off at him for rejecting them or dumping them. But it seemed like in the Scientology paperwork, it seemed like the Scientology center, or it seems like the admins and the head of the Scientology church were taking it seriously, in the sense that they were telling these women how to get over it, how to move past it. So it seems like if you look at what is in some of what's been what people have testified to seeing in those Scientology files and what's been reported, then it does look like it's very strong indication that he did these things, or at least that the Scientologist admins who were in charge of his case or his cases were talking to these women as if he did these things. And so anyway, that's my impression of it. Amphalia says Masterson also paid one of them. Okay, yeah. And so again, like there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. And so that's just my overall quick impression of that. And so, but I understand people say, there are people who are saying, well, in some ways the evidence for this case is also flimsy. But I think this is an indication to people that I don't always defend the accused. In fact, even now, most of the time, I would say, or at least 50% of the time, I would say that I believe that women are telling the truth in these cases. But I'm just way, way more skeptical, particularly in celebrity cases. And so in the Masterson case, it takes more, as it should in all cases, but particularly in celebrity cases like this, it takes more than victim statements. There has to be some kind of corroboration. And so I feel like we did have that with some of what's been reported on, to my knowledge. So anyway, so yeah, that's done. And what else? We've got other legal news. I wish we had Andrea here. In other legal news, Nina Ogdal, she has sued Dylan Dennis, and she has filed a TRO, restraining order. Now, this is something that I did a quick video on 2 weeks ago with Ariadna Jacob. And not many people saw that. I don't think it really hit the algorithm, probably because a lot of people aren't paying attention to this. But now maybe they will, since Nina Ogdal actually sued this guy. So for those of you not paying attention or don't know, Nina Ogdal is a model who is engaged to the YouTuber and aspiring mixed martial artist fighter Logan Paul. And I get it. A lot of people say he's an asshole. Okay, might be an asshole. But anyway, he has a fight of some kind that I don't really understand because I don't keep up with this stuff. But he has a fight of some kind scheduled with this guy named Dylan Dennis. And Dylan Dennis is trying in the typical fashion for these fighters, he's trying to get a lot of press for this fight because more attention, more press, more money, more fame, right? And we saw something like this in the only fight that I've ever paid attention to, which was the fight between Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. That is literally the only fight of that kind, of any kind. I don't think I've even watched a boxing match, not even the old ones with Muhammad Ali, but I have not ever watched any of these fights. But I watched that one just because it was so hyped that even I was hearing about it. So I actually I went to a bar, I bought the package, where you have the drinks and you can sit there and watch the big screen, and bought a ticket for my guy who also doesn't watch this stuff. And we were just totally into it. Go Conor, go Conor. We really didn't care, but I don't know. Conor McGregor, we preferred him. So anyway, point is though, that Mayweather and McGregor, they did a lot of tough talking before the fight. And in fact, one of the reasons why Mayweather chose to get into a fight, to schedule a fight with Conor McGregor, is because he knew Conor McGregor would do a lot of pre-show theater, that in the weeks and months running up to the fight, McGregor would get out there and he would talk shit. And I'll never forget at the big meeting that they have before the fight, where everybody comes and they like do their stare offs at each other or whatever, and they talk shit to each other. I'll never forget when Conor McGregor made fun of Floyd Mayweather's bag. He had this like really Mayweather had brought this really like it was kind of like, it looked almost like a childish sort of book bag in a way, like a backpack or something. And McGregor is like, and what's he doing with his book bag? He can't even fucking read, which was actually supposed to be really funny because Mayweather is apparently semi-literate. So he was basically saying this guy is an illiterate dumbass, or at least he can't read. But Mayweather liked it. He wanted him to do that. In fact, one of the issues that Mayweather had with his prior opponent, was it Manny Pacquiao, is he said, come on, I want you to talk back to me, talk shit to me. We need to build this fight up. And apparently he had called him one point in the preparation for the fight, the weeks leading up to the fight, and had chastised him, Pacquiao, whatever. He had chastised him, Mayweather had, for not talking enough shit. So I understand that there is a long and proud and raucous tradition of people talking shit before a fight, but I just do not think that what Dennis has done over the past month in regards to Nina Ogdal, the fiance of Logan Paul, his upcoming opponent, I do not think that it's right. Now, I'm not saying that Elon should take him off X or censor him or whatever. That's not the conversation that I want to have. I'm just saying at this point. But I'm just saying that I think what he's doing is wrong. I think Nina Ogdal is a civilian, and he has devoted, Dylan Dennis has devoted his entire Twitter now over the last month, to calling Nina Ogdal a whore in as many ways possible, using as many illustrations as possible. And apparently, if we can believe her lawsuit, which I do, using a photograph or a video of her nude that had been taken by a previous romantic partner and leaked to Dennis, using that without her consent. And so she is actually accusing him in this lawsuit. It's not criminal charges that she's going after, but she's accusing him in this lawsuit and in the TRO of violating a statute against, is it revenge porn or showing explicit photos without the owner's consent, what have you, right? But of violating like real laws, statutes. And so in typical Dylan Dennis fashion, he has responded by putting up just more of the same. In fact, he put up a picture, a cartoon kind of illustration of Nina Ogdal, and it said something like, "I'll fuck everyone." So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there, but I approve of what she's doing, and I think that what he's doing is despicable. And it surprised me how many people in my audience have come back at me and said that they think that it's okay what Dennis is doing because this is just what happens before a fight. Well, I don't doubt that it's effective. And so in a Machiavellian sense, or in a purely numbers sense, in a business sense, up to this point, it's been very effective. Now, beyond this point, I don't know, because now he's going to be contending with a lawsuit and legal stuff. And you know that there's only a certain point to which the people backing him and the people paying for this fight and putting it on are going to put up with this kind of BS. In fact, apparently they already told him that he had to take some stuff down. And so that's why he ended up taking down the most offensive item that Ogdal is suing him for, because apparently the people putting on the fight said they were going to cancel it. They're going to drop it if he didn't stop this. But he's still doing the other stuff. So there's that one photo that was taken down, or photo or video, but he's still putting the other stuff up. So I just think she's a civilian. I think it's crossed the line. And I am not down with the, for lack of a better term, slut shaming. I'm not down with this very old-fashioned way of attacking women based on their presumed number of sexual partners. And we don't even know, because he's taking her face and he's like superimposing it on other people. And so it's like, and she's a supermodel. So yeah, she's going to stand next to a lot of guys. He has a lot of pictures on there of her standing next to guys in when she's dressed up. Well, yeah, she's a supermodel. So I'm sure she's taking pictures with a lot of guys want to take pictures with her, but whatever. Let's say that she slept with 1,000 people. All right. That there is no reason, and absolutely no reason or no excuse for this kind of behavior, for him to attack her based on that. Now, people can have their own opinions about what kind of sexual behavior is appropriate, or some of you men and women could have your own opinions about how many sexual partners you would ideally like for your husband or wife or future husband and wife to be limited to. I understand that. I'm not saying that everybody should be comfortable with someone who has slept with a lot of people, male or female. There are guys that I know that are cool guys, but that I would never have dated because they have sexual compulsivity problems. And I knew that dating them would just be a never ending headache and heartache. So it's not, and so we can have this discussion. I don't want to have it right now, but we can have this discussion, but that's not the discussion that we need to be having with this Dylan Danis stuff. He's not actually trying to promote family values, people. Are you that stupid? Come on. That's not what this is about. This is about harassing this woman who is an innocent civilian just because she happens to be newly engaged to this guy that he's trying to gin up interest in a fight over. So that's, find another way to do it, Dylan, or don't. But if you keep doing what you're doing, you are going to start facing consequences. We all know, and I know as well as anyone, that free speech is not in unlimited supply. It is not an unlimited quality. And we all, including me, we all come up against walls where we will start to feel consequences for saying certain things. Now, that doesn't mean that, we don't say them. I would just ask Dylan Danis, though, if haven't you already gotten everything that you want out of this? You're getting millions and millions of views. People are paying attention like me who would never be paying attention before. I think that from this point on, you're going to be hitting a point of diminishing returns very, very rapidly. So if you got what you're after, declare a victory of sorts, go deal with your lawsuit and let this go. Because you're not William Wallace. This is not Braveheart. You're not some free speech crusader here. That's not what's going on here. All right. Okay, next. Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas. They didn't last. Who could have seen that coming? Oh, yeah. Just like everybody, basically, right? Look, I'm just going to say this. Joe Jonas was punching above his weight, and I'm not the only person who realized this. And I understand that we're not supposed to, in this newly enlightened society, we're not supposed to judge people based on their looks, except that everybody does it. Ask all the people who are constantly making jokes about my nose. I told my mom the other day, so my mom has had a very interesting kind of awakening to and I hate to term it this way because it almost sounds like I'm saying this in a victim type mentality, and I'm not. But my mom is very slowly awakened to the kind of stuff that I have to put up with on a daily basis due to having a YouTube channel and social media. And I understand I ask for it all. But the other day I was talking about how I get a lot of insults about my nose and people saying that they'll help me save up for a nose job fund and stuff. And not from like you guys or people who like me, right? But just trolls and whatever. And it doesn't even bother me. But she was like, what? And I said, yeah, Mom. And she's like, what? People insult your nose? What? I said, Mom, that's like the least of my worries. But anyway, my point is, yeah, I know we all want to live in this world where nobody cares about anybody's looks, but that's not the case. And Joe Jonas, I understand he was a big star, music star of the Jonas Brothers and everything, but he was never the hot Jonas. If any of them, Nick was the hot Jonas. And Joe, I think he just was punching a bit too far above his weight there with Sophie Turner. And look, people talk about the age difference thing a lot in terms of grooming. And oh my God, he's taking advantage of her, whatever. I wish that there would be less of that talk and more just practical talk about the very real problems that age difference can bring into a relationship. And not just age difference, but two people being in two different places in their lives. So look, what's coming out with the PR right now, and I don't know who's leaking all this stuff. I don't know if it's actually Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner who are shooting, back and forth, or if it's just friends of theirs who are trying to get some tabloid money or some clouts or 15 minutes in the sun or whatever, sharing shit they shouldn't be sharing. But basically the narrative that has emerged is like from Joe's camp, I guess, is that Sophie Turner was this borderline negligent mother who had these 2 kids and then just wanted to run off to England and party while he has to be Mr. Mom. Now, do I believe that narrative? I don't know what narrative to believe. I would say it's probably extreme. The narrative coming from her side, and maybe even incorrect, totally incorrect, right? The narrative coming from her side is that she was pressured into taking things too fast. She wasn't ready for marriage. She wasn't ready to have kids. She didn't even have an adolescence or a childhood because she was an actress and she joined Game of Thrones when she was still in her early teens, and then she grew up on that show. And basically, she's just not been allowed to be your average adolescent and 20-something. Right. And he apparently her camp is saying was pressuring her into stuff, and she wasn't allowed to grow up. To which I would say to both of these parties, it was evident from the beginning what you were getting into with each other. It was evident. Sophie Turner, for as long as I've been hearing about her, has been a big partier. I remember there were these pictures taken of her in a cab in London. And there were tabloid pictures, and the picture, and then there was this big heading, and it used a word that I had never heard before. I've never heard this word before. Some of you Brits will have to tell me if this is a common word in Britain, but they used this term. It said Sophie Turner caught on camera gurning, Gurning. Gurney, that's fine, Maud. You want to talk about trolls, but you deserve it for being a narcissist. Well, but see, here's the thing, Maud. If I'm really a narcissist, and I'm sorry, I don't have time to I'm on my phone. I don't have time to highlight people's comments. So I'm sorry, I'm just responding to them. Here's the thing, Maud. If I am really a narcissist, then I love attention, whether it's positive or negative. So the trolls are actually just feeding me. So, if you're dealing with a narcissist, there's like no way to win because they feed off the good and the bad energy. So if that's really me, Maud, then you are up a fucking creek because you can't really get to me with your comments. Now, if I'm not a narcissist, then you can get to me. But then if I'm not a narcissist, then you're wrong. You're in a bind, Maud. You're in a bind. A philosophical conundrum. Can your small mind deal with it? Anyway, and what the fuck are my mods doing letting a comment like that get in there? I'm about to go all Jimmy Fallon on you mods. All right. Jimmy Fallon, Lizzo, and Ellen DeGeneres wrapped into one. That is the kind of boss that I am over here, people. Okay. But I digress. I was just joking, mods. Okay, so anyway, these 2 people should have known. So gurning, what is gurning? But anyway, it was Gurning, but it had a picture of Sophie Turner, and her mouth was open, and then her eyes. It's kind of an obscene look. But anyway, her mouth was open, and her eyes were like rolled back, and that is apparently what gurning is. No, I looked it up. It was something like moving your face spasmodically, or your teeth, like maybe when people are on like ecstasy, or they're taking too much Adderall and they're doing the jaw thing. I don't know. Anyway, but my point is, she was a big partier. And Jonas, I would also say to you, Joe, that every time Sophie Turner opens her mouth in an interview, she talks about her mental health problems. This is all that I know about the girl. I actually am bored to tears with this woman, always have been. I don't even think, honestly, she's that pretty, but I still think she's like way above Joe Jonas. But every interview I've seen with her, she's talking about her mental health problems. And she's like, and I remember before she and Joe got married, when they were just engaged, and she was talking in an interview about how they had come to a real crisis because of her mental health, and I've got to go back to England for my mental health. And like every interview, she's just saying recently, I've got to go back to England for my mental health. And look, there's nothing wrong with being vocal about your mental health. I talk about depression at times here, but like when it's coming up in every interview, and it seems to be an integral part of how you see yourself is the struggle with your mental health. Like, it's just probably not a good sign if someone is wanting to shoot out a bunch of kids with you, basically. And that seemed to be the thing with Joe Jonas, is that he was older. He had already toured a lot. he had, forever been doing the tour party thing. Of course, the Jonas Brothers, they were like sort of conservative, weren't they? One of them saved himself for marriage. But anyway, the point is, like, he had already lived all that out. And so I'm sure that both parties, I'm sure that Sophie and Joe, I'm sure that they were very, very well aware going into this what the other was like. It's just like a lot of people, when you're in love, you just say, oh, well, I'm in love, screw it. There are really famous maxims and quotes about this, how sensibility and logic go out the window when people feel that magic phenomenon. So I think that's basically what happened here. Now, I am curious about this mysterious behavior on the Ring that was captured on the Ring camera. And this could be BS, but there are reports, I guess, coming out of Joe's camp that the last straw for him had been seeing her doing something inappropriate on the Ring camera. So what is on the Ring camera? I don't know. But I do like the movie The Ring with a girl who comes out of the TV. Anyway, okay, so that's what I have to say about Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas. So I'm not really on a team there. I'm on team, you shouldn't have gotten married. You knew who the other person was. Or I'm on team, Joe Jonas was punching up and should have known there would have been problems. All right. I'd do a t-shirt instead of like Team Jonas or Team Joe. It'd be like Joe was punching. He was punching above his weight. It's like my grandfather used to say, in almost every relationship, or in most relationships, there's one person who loves the other person more. It's not common that you get perfect equality in relationships. Now, sometimes you might. I do know couples where like both of them just like equal up, but most of the time there's one person who loves the other person more. And this is what my grandfather said: is that person will suffer. It's not ideal to be in the position the person who loves the other person more. That's not the ideal position to be in. So I think that was Joe Jonas's position there. Okay. We talked about, what time are we at? Y'all, I cannot see on my clock here. Okay, we're 26. No, never mind. 26 minutes into it. Okay. How are we going? Did y'all kick that mod out of here? I'm kidding. Okay. Tug Simp, by the way, if you are in the chat or you see this, thank you for letting me know. Tug and AJ both let me know that I was in Surviving Amber Heard. So I'll have to check it out at some point soon and see about that. Okay, Natalie Portman has said that she greatly admires the resilience of the Spanish women's soccer team, the football team that just won the World Cup. She greatly admires their resilience. Now, resilience means that you've experienced something really horrible, really awful, and you're able, just through your own like strength and through grit and determination and great character, you're able to bounce back from it. So am I to understand that she considers one of their teammates getting kissed for 1 second with a closed mouth to be such a traumatic, horrible event, not only for that teammate, but for the entire team, that they're continuing to exist because they haven't even played, have they? So where's this resilience we're seeing? I guess just that they continue to like breathe and they don't throw themselves, off a bridge or something and in shame. That shows great resilience. And I just find that so annoying. I understand that my opinion on this Spanish Rubiales thing, I know that it's controversial for some of you. Yes, what he did was wrong. It was a faux pas. It was a boundary invasion. He deserved a day or two of criticism. Okay. Not all of this insanity in my mind. But look, for her to take it a step further, Natalie Portman, and say that the entire women's team has shown great resilience in the face of what? Of one of their teammates being briefly kissed on the mouth. I just don't understand. Jimmy Fallon. I mentioned this earlier. Jimmy Fallon is apparently a toxic boss. Wah, wah. Yes, he can join the ranks of Lizzo and Ellen DeGeneres and who else? Kelly Clarkson. She was another one. People don't think about this so much, but she's another one that a bunch of ex-employees came out and said, oh, it's so traumatic. It's so difficult being on her show. But these ex-staffers Jimmy Fallon's show, anonymous, I think, all of them anonymous, but apparently a number of them claim that they had to receive therapy and even engaged in suicidal ideation as a result of what they suffered on the Jimmy Fallon show. So all I'm going to say about that is that I wrote a whole article about that, about this new phenomenon that I see emerging, which is in many ways similar to Me Too, in that it often relies on anonymous, problematic, often not very specific accounts or unsubstantiated, unverifiable accounts, and that it's often an attempt to get some quick money in lawsuits. Or to get back at a boss. That, look, these bosses, they may have their problems, but we really need to unpack what is meant by toxic work environment. And I do not at all have faith in the idea that if someone says they had to go to therapy for something, that really means that there was a problem. There are a lot of people who, and I don't want to turn it into a generational thing, although to some degree it could be. But there are a lot of people now who just don't think that you should have unpleasantness at work, or that they think that you should go to work for a major tier 1 Hollywood production like Jimmy Fallon's show or the Ellen DeGeneres show or Lizzo's show, and that it shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't be stressful. And that Lizzo lawsuit, I've talked about it before. I wrote an article about it. It was published in the Daily Wire. It was behind a paywall. Sorry. I published it on my Patreon if you want to check it out. I'm just going to turn my Patreon, I think, into my Substack. But anyway, I read an article on this, how I really feel like toxic work is the next Me Too. And I know people aren't using that hashtag a lot like they were with Me Too, but I'm just saying this phenomenon now of all of these hyperventilating accusations, unverifiable, largely unsubstantiated accusations about a mean boss. I think it's going to be a problem. I think it's I'm not saying every allegation is inaccurate, and I'm not saying that it's okay for the workplace to be some kind of a free-for-all of toxic behavior, or that it's okay for someone to be a horribly excessively demanding asshole of a boss. But now what we're getting into again is cancellation territory. And I don't know that Jimmy Fallon's going to be canceled, but I know that Lizzo, I know that her streams dropped off to nothing. Her streams dropped off to nothing after she was accused of all that stuff in the lawsuit. Now, I don't know if she's recovered or not, but it's a lot of bad press these people are getting. And in the case of Ellen DeGeneres, she was flat out canceled. She was flat out canceled. Those allegations came out about her show, and within months it was done. And it had been a successful show. So there are very real consequences to these types of allegations. And I see similar problems as I saw with Me Too. So it's going to be interesting because I've seen so many stories and allegations about all kinds of workplace environments and famous bosses. And, this set was not healthy and it had to be shut down for a few weeks. That's happened to multiple HBO shows, by the way. They've had to shut down multiple sets for multiple HBO Max shows over the last several years due to complaints of toxic behavior. Maybe some of them are legit. I don't know. But again, I think there are people who think that you can go to work for the creme de la creme, these big stars, and just not have a stressful time of it. No, if you're at that level, it's going to be stressful. And I made a joke today on Instagram. I said that I too would be seeking therapy for my own toxic workplace experience because dealing with myself has been, frankly, more than I can handle. And I believe that I'm setting standards and goals that are too high for me to achieve. And I'm putting a lot of stress on me, and I'm forcing me to stay up late working on a lot of things. And so, and I think there may have been a few times when I even sexually harassed myself, but let's not talk about that. That's kind of inappropriate. So I will be going into therapy for what I've done to myself. And I make that obviously as a joke, but then also there's a little bit of truth to that in the sense that I would never expect to try to do something big like YouTube, social media, like what I'm trying to do. And it's just going to be no stress. All joking aside, Maud's comments aside, it doesn't bother me 99.9% of the time when trolls say all kinds of shit about me because I expect it. I'm like, yes, this is part of it. Okay. And my point being then that these people who go to work for these top of the line productions, and they're working, they have these jobs that a lot of people would love to have those opportunities, at least get their foot in the door, and in some cases well up the chain, and they think that it's not supposed to be stressful. And here's the thing, if you find yourself in a job that is stressful or too stressful for you, or a mean boss, then you look for a job elsewhere. Like, it's not a Soviet country, okay? It's not, East Germany 50 years ago or whatever. You can actually choose like your employment. You don't have to get like the government's permission or whatever, right? You just change. You just have ChatGPT write you a resume, okay? And then you send it somewhere. You don't even have to physically send it. Nowadays, we have this thing called the computer and internet email, and you just click a button and it transmits. It's really crazy. So, all right, what else? I never acknowledged that Till Lindemann, I never acknowledged in my YouTube that Till Lindemann has been cleared. So that was a big thing I talked about a lot on Instagram and Twitter. Those of you who aren't following me on Instagram, you really should. You're missing out, including today I posted for the first time, I'm not joking, a semi-nude photo. I'm totally not joking with you. I'm not going to post it here. You're going to have to go to my Instagram. So that's going to be an incentive for some of you to go to my Instagram finally. Yes, but it is semi-nude. I am auditioning for, I'll come back to Till in a minute, but I'm auditioning for Kanye West to be Kanye West's next wife. After Bianca inevitably gets sick of him, because what woman can live with that for more than a few months? I don't care how much money you're getting. When Bianca Censori gets rid of him, as she inevitably will, then I want to be there to step into her position. Now, I'm at a disadvantage because I am flat-chested and I'm flat-bottomed, and there's just really not much meat on my bones. So I'm really at a disadvantage if I'm looking at Kanye West's prior partners, Amber Rose, Kim Kardashian, Bianca Censori, that Julia Fox woman. Now, she wasn't, well, no, she did have the butt implants. That's right. Never mind. So anyway, my point is, like, I can't compete with that. But I thought Kanye may like my style, so I tried to style myself in the way that he seems to like women to look, and so I did that, and I posted the photo on Instagram. So you all, that'll give you a reason to check out my Instagram. But anyway, back to Till Lindemann. Till Lindemann was cleared. He was cleared by the Berlin prosecutors. So that is over. And what was such a revelation to me is that apparently none of the women who complained in those German TV interviews, those anonymous German TV interviews, or in the anonymous Der Spiegel articles and what have you, none of those women with their stupid stories of really nothing happening anyway, but none of those women actually complained to the Berlin prosecutor. None of them went to the police. The prosecutor's office said that they did not receive a single firsthand report. It was all people reporting basically on stuff they'd seen on the news. Seriously. And so it was one of those things of like, well, okay, there's this stuff in the news and people are bitching to us about it in the Berlin prosecutor's office. So I guess we'll go check it out. And then they had a little section in there where they talked about the YouTuber Kayla Schicks and made her look pretty stupid. I don't remember what exactly was said, but it made her look stupid. And then there was a short paragraph in there also clearing Elena Makiva, Till Lindemann's good friend and employee, who was accused of basically being a Ghislaine Maxwell. It was totally unsubstantiated, totally wrong. And so the prosecutors included a separate section in their report that was made public about her and about how there was absolutely no evidence of anything criminal on her part, no evidence of anything underage. There's no case, nothing going on. So good for them. I'm sure there's still, good for Till, good for Rammstein. I'm sure there are still people who are going to try to dig up stuff. I saw one of you in the chat mentioned that Till had to cancel an appearance in West Virginia. You might say, what? Yes, Till Lindemann decided that he was going to give up being a rock star and he was going to take up the banjo and move to West Virginia. There's a little Deliverance joke for you there. You got pretty lips. If you want to see something that's triggering or traumatizing to watch, that movie, look, most of the movie, I'm talking about Deliverance right now. We'll go back to Till in a minute. Burt Reynolds, Deliverance. Also, Angelina Jolie's dad was in that movie too, John Voight. Anyway, it's about these guys who go on a rafting trip in, I believe, West Virginia. And they happen upon some natives, shall we say. No, not Native Americans. No, they happen upon these local hillbillies, to use a derogatory term, but these local hillbillies, these hillbilly guys who were hunting in the woods. And I guess they don't like visitors because these hillbilly guys proceeded to tie up these guys and rape one of them. This is in the movie. Now, you don't actually see the act itself, but you see and hear enough, so it's very disturbing. Anyway, my point is just that if anyone ever makes jokes about the movie Deliverance, if you ever hear that, or you're like references to the movie Deliverance, then it's probably a reference to the assault scene and how uncomfortable it is. And I'm sure back then, even more so, because people were not as accustomed to seeing representations of that. But anyway, although it was the 70s, actually, in a lot of ways, things were more permissive in the 70s, and in terms of the kinds of movies that were being made. You know, Last House on the Left, the original, I Spit on Your Grave, some of these really intense, disturbing, triggering films. Anyway, my point is, though, Till was going to go to West Virginia because there is a music festival there, I believe this weekend or later this month. But anyway, big music festival there, and his band, not Rammstein, but his band Lindemann, they were going to be the big guest of honor or what have you, the big act. And so he had to cancel. I have heard from people close to him, verifiably, that everything's fine. I don't want to say what it is, although it's nothing bad, but it's not my place. It's just a little nothing health thing that popped up, but it was going to make it, I think, tough for him to get over there and give a great performance. Right. And so anyway, so it's been postponed. I think that they're going to have him back a year from now at the same event in West Virginia. So, and we can all meet up there. Okay, what else? Where are we at with time? Okay, I've got about 15 minutes left before Tug upstages me. So Kanye, already talked about Kanye and Bianca. Okay, I don't know if Bianca is being pressured to do things against her will almost. I'm not saying that like he's holding her down and forcing her to wear these clothes, but I'm just saying I don't know if she's gotten into a situation where she's doing this enthusiastically. Like if we're talking about consent, is Bianca fully consenting to wearing these outfits that Kanye has her in? Maybe she is just getting so much from the relationship. Like she's getting so much money. He's buying her all this stuff. And she's so thrilled to be, some people are just so fame hungry that, like the narcissist Maud was talking about, they just want to be on TV and they just want people talking about it. They want to be front page Daily Mails. They don't care. So maybe she is just so elated over the upgrade in lifestyle that this is giving her and over all of the fame and notoriety that she's getting, that she is okay with being a bizarre point of curiosity and laughter and really like almost borderline appalling behavior, because what they're doing, I don't understand if everyone understands the significance of the fact that they're doing all of this stuff in Italy. I mean, she is daily now leaving her hotel room, Bianca, in outfits that a crack whore would not wear. Like some of these outfits, I'm serious. Like they'd be like, hell no. And it's not just that the outfits are tasteless, but like she, like you can see all of her breasts in some of these outfits. Like they're see-through, translucent. You can see like all of her breasts. You can, and the other day, what was it, today or yesterday? She left the hotel room just holding a cushion, like a couch cushion or a chair cushion in front of her boobs. I don't know. She holds up the whole time she's walking around sightseeing. And then, how many of you saw the boat ride where she and Kanye, like, I'm sorry, some people have tried to tell me that was not a sex act that was going on there. You're drinking the Kool-Aid on that, because that was a sex act. It was. And he's sitting there, and there are tourists everywhere too. That's the thing that gets me. Like, I can understand if you're on this romantic trip in Italy and you have this kind of agreement with your your driver that he's going to look the other way, right? Like you're going to tip him really well or something. And then he's going to find like a little like remote area where nobody's going to be around. And then you want to have like some fun time there. I mean, it's not what I would want to be doing, but like, okay. But they were out there. Like you can see in some of the wider shots of what was going on that boat, you can see there were people around. That's who was taking the pictures. It wasn't some like telephoto lens of some paparazzo. There were people right there in the boat next to him. And then they were parked right next to some public building or something. Like you can see some chairs in the background. You can see a person. Like they were just there in the middle of shit. And he's got his pants off and he's showing his butt. And then she is on her knees in front of him with just like her hand. I mean, it's very obvious what's going on. I don't know what to say. So they are apparently being investigated now for an act of indecency by the local authorities. I don't know if that was Florence or Venice, where that took place, but it's in Italy. But here's the thing with the Italians. Apparently Italian culture, and I know it's not monolithic, just like American culture is not monolithic, but apparently Italian culture is more traditional and more conservative than American culture, generally speaking. And I remember that there were a number of places like the Vatican, but other places when I was in Italy years ago, where you were told that women needed to not even show their arms. And so, and you know, it's a Catholic country, all of that. And so you've got Kanye and his wife going through there like trash. I mean, they're just seemingly trying to offend the local people and the media and the cops. So I don't know. Again, maybe Kanye has been all this time playing some kind of 4D chess that is just beyond my meager cognitive capacity to understand. But like, what the is going on? So anyway, they're being investigated now for a lewd act. Okay, what else? Yes. So anyway, congratulations to Till Lindemann, though, for getting cleared. And I would expect we're still going to see some reverberations, like some aftershocks, like you have an earthquake and then you got the aftershocks. So I'm sure Shelby is going to keep spewing her BS. And she's still going to the Bundestag, as far as I know. I did an interview with Max that my friend Max from Germany, that I'm late on because there were some technical issues. And so I'm having to do a lot more editing than normal, but that's still coming out. But we were laughing about that. Like, we cannot believe that Shelby is still going to their parliament after all this. Okay, what else? Got a little more time. Woody Allen, he has been celebrated recently at the Venice Film Festival. Not only did they screen his latest movie, which is getting really good reviews. It probably is not going to have a U.S. distributor, but maybe it's going to be distributed in Europe. But his latest movie, was screened at the Venice Film Festival, and he got a standing ovation by those present, including a number of people in the media. Now, this is really ballsy and gutsy because, look, for those of you who don't know the truth on this, I understand that Woody Allen had an affair with and married the daughter of the woman he was dating. And I understand that the daughter was in college when they started dating. I get it. And I understand that makes people uncomfortable. But I'm saying that regardless of that, he is innocent of the bad stuff that he's accused of. And I don't want to get into it, kind of mess up things for the YouTube algorithm or whatever, but you can look into it. But I'm just saying that it turns out that Mia Farrow constructed this elaborate hoax. He's been investigated, Woody Allen, multiple times by various psychiatrists, by various entities, including the government on 2 occasions, extensive investigations. He's also been allowed to adopt 2 children, okay, which you're not allowed to do if everyone thinks you're So you can look into it. There's a guy named Rick Worley. I'm trying to get him to come on my show. Rick Worley, look him up on YouTube. He did a multi-hour documentary on Woody Allen's innocence, on this hoax. And it was entitled, By the Way, Woody Allen is Innocent. By the Way, Woody Allen is Innocent. Look it up. It's hours. And it is better than any movie that I've made. It's very, very well made. And if after watching that, you still think that Woody Allen is guilty, then we should have a talk. Anyway, so all I mean to say there is that it's very ballsy of some people who are starting to celebrate Woody Allen and starting to allow him back into proper, polite society, however you want to put that. And it gives me hope for someone like Marilyn Manson, because I have, as you know, I have been depressed about the idea that Marilyn Manson, if he doesn't come out and really take on these lies against him and really engage in a public battle, I've been very depressed about his prospects of having a comeback under these conditions. But if Woody Allen is having a comeback, then, you know, maybe after a bit more time goes by and the dust settles, then hopefully Marilyn Manson will as well. But anyway, but good for them. Good for the Venice Film Festival for doing that. And that leaves us then, just in time here to wrap things up, that leaves us with Chloe Black. So I wanted to give you an update on the Manson thing. And it looks like, I mean, there have been no indications of a settlement, that a settlement has been reached, or that the parties, both parties in the Chloe Black Jane Doe lawsuit against Marilyn Manson, there's no indication that the parties are working on a settlement or that a settlement has been reached. That's not inside information or whatever. I don't have any. That's just how it's seeming from the legal stuff. And the lawyer would not allow them to push back the trial. So there's a trial that's going to be taking place very soon. And what, October, November? And so, and it's going to be most likely entirely sealed because it is a Jane Doe case, but it's not Jane Doe, it's Chloe Black, wannabe pop star. Anyway, so yeah, so there's going to be a trial, even if it's closed to the public, even if we don't know anything about it, but we will know the verdict, I assume. And so I'm going to be talking more about this, even though it's sealed and even though it's officially a Jane Doe case. The Jane Doe is just a court designation. There's no restriction on me at all. And I'm fully legally able to say that it's Chloe Black. So I want to talk in the upcoming weeks about Chloe Black and about, more specifically, Chloe Black's lawsuit against Manson, because I've already talked about it on my channel. I did a long video on it, but it's ridiculous. And also, it will allow us an opportunity to revisit the topic of the groupie video. Yes, the infamous semi-snuff film that Marilyn Manson, perverted beast that he is, filmed for his own amusement. No, it's not a snuff film. Okay, it's nothing bad. But that's the point, is that the Chloe Black lawsuit is one of the lawsuits that really emphasizes the trauma that she experienced when Marilyn Manson showed her this really scary movie. Oh my God. She says she tried to leave the room, but he wouldn't let her. Oh. Anyway, she doesn't actually say he physically restrained her, so I don't know. What is wouldn't let? He said stay. And I just had to, because he was so much older, and he had more money, and he was smarter. I tell y'all. So many of these lawsuits and so many of these Manson accusers, they literally say that at times they wanted to do something, like they wanted to escape, or they knew it was a bad relationship and they wanted to get out, but he was so much smarter. They talk about his intelligence like he was some kind of an Einstein, like a master manipulator. He was smarter than me. You know, it doesn't make you look good when you talk about how you were too dumb to leave somebody. That doesn't make you look good. But I guess you don't care, do you, accusers? Because you just want your money and your 5 minutes or whatever. All right, everybody. I got to go so Tug doesn't upstage me. But if you enjoyed this, I always appreciate your tips, donations. My PayPal, Patreon links are below. And I know this was a short one, but I appreciate you being here. And I guess you can migrate over to Tug now. Tell him that I sent you. And because I sent you, he owes me 10% of tonight's revenue from his live stream. All right. Thanks to my mods. I see you later. Bye.